Hi, I'm Carolyn Mose, Certified Spending Planner. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Unique 8-Step Process to Conquer Your Finances. When I was 9, I made a decision that I would never be poor. Do you know that very simple mindset decision set me up for pretty much every financial decision I made from that moment on? I won't tell you that life has been easy, and I will tell you that as a young couple raising children, we struggled with money, especially back in the 1980s when interest rates were at 18.5%. And I'll also tell you that the one thing we argued about as a couple was money. I'll also tell you that I've used every budgeting system known to man, and none of them worked. Absolutely none of them worked. In 2004, my husband and I attended a cash flow clinic, and it was run by David Wright from the Spending Planners Institute. And honestly, it was probably one of the hardest decisions my husband ever made, because I think as a man, it was hard for him to admit that we actually had money problems. At the end of that day, I told my husband, that man has just given us the keys to the financial kingdom. In 2009, we suffered badly through the global financial crisis, or the old GFC as we like to call it. We lost our home at that point, and investment property and superannuation. And the next 5 years for us were probably the hardest we had encountered in our 41 years of marriage. It was only the fact that we had a plan in place for our money and a system that worked that we knew we were actually going to be okay. In 2015, I trained with the Spending Planners Institute to become a certified spending planner, and I'm absolutely passionate about what I do. I'm constantly amazed, at how people's lives are transformed when they simply take control of their money. Their stress disappears, their relationships improve, and they start to be able to plan for their future. In 2016, I was named the Spending Planner of the Year, and in 2018, I received the Founders Award for Excellence in Service. In November 2018, I was also interviewed by Money Magazine for a feature article that they were doing on the Spending Planners Institute, and I've written articles for several publications, both national and local. I partner with Kelly Pamick from Money Chief, and I'll hand over now to Kelly so that she can share a little bit of her journey with you. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Caroline. That's pretty hard to follow up, to be fair. But hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Pamick, and I founded Money Chief Spending Planners 3 years ago. I'm a bit of a numbers nerd, so this is a fun way for me to spend time talking to people about money and helping them with cash flow and organising their money. My background's in operations management, so I've spent 20-odd years managing complex budgets and cash flows, and I can honestly tell you there's really not a lot of difference between running a business or household finances. The same principles apply, and I'm really excited about sharing some of those keystone habits with you all tonight. Much like Carolyn, I have the same experience of using the software myself. I've used it for quite some time before I became a spending planner, and we both really believe in this process and know that it can help people. So, looking forward to this evening.
Thanks so much, Kelly. So tonight we're going to be answering 3 questions. So our 3 questions are simply, why do the majority of people struggle to pay their essential bills? Our second question is, what do you do when life happens, and life happens all too frequently? And our third question, how can you ensure that you have enough money for essential bills, for those life emergency events, and for the things that you really desire? Okay. So why do people struggle with their money? The saying goes that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. But I don't think anyone really plans to fail at managing their money. If you're not good with money, it's simply because you were never taught how to manage it. We do our best with the knowledge we have, but without some education and a good plan, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Okay, so let's take a look at where the bulk of our money actually goes. Now, we talk about the 12 essential transactions, which I've got listed here for you. So we've got food, fuel, car registration, insurance and servicing, electricity, insurances, phone and internet, rates and water, rental mortgage and childcare. Now, Kelly, this is a pretty big one for you, isn't it, childcare?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think childcare is the one we all focus on because it's so incredibly expensive. But I've moved now. My youngest has moved into school, which was very exciting cash flow wise, let me tell you. Yep. Childcare is up to $140 a day before rebates in Queensland, which is a good portion, if not all, of some people's take-home wage. But
Yep.
even once you move into school, having before school care, after school care, you know, school fees, all those things, it really is a significant part of our budgets.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Kelly and I both work with a lot of young couples raising children, and we find, you know, that with these top 12 transactions, these will take up anywhere between $58,000 and $65,000. So, which is essentially one wage on a two-income earning family. That's one wage gone out the window. Okay, so it's no wonder that people actually struggle to make ends meet, and they find themselves on this cycle of living pay to pay, you know, struggling to pay their essential bills, struggling to provide the lifestyle that they really want. So wouldn't it be great to just be able to go out for Sunday breakfast and not worry about how you're going to pay for it? So, you know, as we said earlier, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we believe that everyone needs a plan for their money, but nobody wants a budget. So, and, you know, without a plan for your money, chances of it flying out the window are actually pretty high. Okay, so at the beginning of every year, all our money gurus tell us, they're on the radio and TV, and they're saying, here are my top 10 tips for financial success in the next 12 months. And their number one tip is always do a budget, okay? And the problem is budgets are next to useless. As I said earlier, I have used every budgeting system known to man, you know, from the simple envelope system to Excel spreadsheets. I've used them all. Kelly, I'm sure you've used a few in your time as well.
Just 1, 2 or 20. I think I've been through every one of them.
Yeah, that's right. And look, honestly, they do not work. They do not work. But, you know, without a plan for your money, as we said, chances of it flying out the window are pretty high. So we need to put a plan in place. So what do? We know that budgets don't work. So tonight what we want to do is show you the difference between a spending plan and a budget. Okay. So where a budget is actually two-dimensional, it will show you income and expenses out. So you've got your Excel spreadsheet, you've got your income column, you've got your expenses column. It's not going to tell you if you're going to have enough money on any given day of the next 12 months to cover the essential bills that are coming in and out. You know, how many times have you said, okay, we've got money to spend this week, we go and spend it, and the next week the $700 electricity bill comes in and you think, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. Okay, a spending plan is actually three-dimensional. It shows you your income in, your expenses out, and timing. And do you know, as you'll soon see, timing makes all the difference. So tonight we're going to look at the story of two families. Okay, now these two families, they both have identical incomes and identical expenses throughout the year. Okay, family number one is doing okay, and family number two is actually in a little bit of trouble. So let's have a look. Okay, in this slide, we've got family number one at the top of the slide showing green all above the line. And this means that they're meeting all of their expenses throughout the next 12 months and they're doing fine. Okay, that's me. I'm doing great. Now, poor Kelly over here, I've got a bit of a problem. Kelly's actually family number two. She's not doing so good. She's got lots of red below the line and she's got negative balances on lots of the days throughout the year. Poor Kelly has to reach for that credit card to get by. So, Kelly, what's the problem? What's happening here?
I don't know, but looking at that, how frustrating. I earn the same amount of money as you. I only have the same expenses, but I'm in a world of hurt and you're not. Like, that just doesn't seem right. We all think it's way more complicated than it is. But
Yep.
the difference is how much money Carolyn had in her bank account at the beginning of the year. That is what allowed her to have that green all throughout and to save those troughs of red and that stress of having that money to spend. I'll let Caroline explain it fully because she's got the numbers in front of her. But basically, it's about timing, it's about your starting point, and it's about knowing in advance how much you have to pay on certain days of the year.
Yep, absolutely. And so as Kelly said, yes, I had a starting point, and my starting point was actually $2,500, whereas Kelly's was $0. Okay. Now, but I mean, a lot of you will be listening now and going, well, that's okay for Carolyn. She had $2,500. You know, I'm like, poor Kelly, I've got $0. I've got nothing, you know. But after family number two started working with their spending planner, what the spending planner does and what part of our role is at the beginning, we take you through this process. So we'll look at the plan, and so the spending planner on family number 2 on Kelly's plan identified 3 transactions that were throwing out the whole plan. Okay, and by simply changing the timing of those 3 expenses, the planner was able to give them the plan that actually looked like this.
Oh, it was green, and that's worth it. And it's true, Caroline, like those 3 were beautiful and easy to move, and you'll walk us through them shortly.
Yeah.
And you might be sitting there at home going, but I don't have these 3. But it doesn't matter what your 3 are or your 10. It's about finding out what they are and moving them. But Caroline, tell us what those simple 3 transactions were.
Yep. So look, very simply, they were health insurance, registration and car insurance, and all of them were in the plan to be paid annually. But unfortunately, they all fell within the first weeks of that plan starting. Okay, so it just created a big hole in the spending plan, and it meant that the plan went into the red on numerous occasions throughout the year. Okay, so all we did by simply changing the annual payments to monthly, the negative balances were actually removed. Okay, so the value of having a spending plan, and this is where we said timing comes into it, because the value of having a spending plan is all about being able to see the future and what's about to happen, rather than looking in the past and wondering why you can never pay your bills on time. Okay, so it's a bit like, we like to say, it's a bit like having a crystal ball for your future. And that brings us to our next point, and the reason why the spending planner system is actually unique to any other budgeting software. Okay, because this system will actually give you the missing number. So let's have a look at what that missing number actually is. Okay, Kelly, did you want to just take us through this quickly?
I can. So when you log into your bank account, we like to say there's a number missing. So if you get your phone out at the moment and you logged into your online banking, had a look what's there, it just tells you how much is in your account. It doesn't tell you how much money needs to be in your account to pay your bills in time. So if I was to tell you today that on January 25th next year, you're going to be $200 short for your electricity bill, but we're only in August, you have plenty of time to make that up, would that be helpful? That means you've got all those months to try and get towards that point that you've got that extra $200 available. That's the number you need. You need to know how much money you have in your account that will allow you to pay all your bills on time for the next 12 months. And that's the missing number. And that's the number that this system will show you.
Yep, absolutely. So, and that's the absolute uniqueness to our system, and it's why a spending planner system works and budgeting doesn't. We like to say spending plans rule and budgeting sucks.
Budgeting is like a theory, isn't it, Caroline? It shows you it's possible. This shows you how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So a spending plan is a pretty powerful tool to manage your money. But what we do as spending planners is more than just provide a great software program, because it's not about the software. It's actually, we take our clients on a journey to financial freedom, and it starts with a simple 8-step process, which I'm going to take you through tonight. Okay, so let's have a look at step 1. Step 1 is actually don't procrastinate. So let me tell you a quick story of a young client of mine. I was working in education at the time, and I was doing spending planning in my spare time back then. This young woman had come to work in tears. She told me that she'd had a huge argument with her husband the night before about their money situation. They had 4 young children under the age of 10, and they were constantly fighting about money. So it was obviously affecting their relationship, and the stress and anxiety in that household was also affecting those little boys. These guys had literally stuck their head in the sand several years before and were now on the verge of bankruptcy. So they had procrastinated for so long and before they took action, and they really didn't know who to turn to, where to go, who to turn to. So she spoke to me this day, and I said to her, you know what, sweetie, I've got something that can help you. How about we sit down next week and have a chat, which is what we did. Okay, so step number 2 is uncomplicate. Okay, This is one of the most important steps that you can take to organise your income and to start to take control of your money. And if you take nothing else away from tonight, please take this information that we're about to give you and implement it, put it into place. This is what we call our ideal bank account structure, and it's simply about putting a structure in place for your money to cover everything. Okay, so our bank account structure looks like this. At the top, we have our predictable bills account. Okay, so predictable bills, our income comes into this account and our predictable bills are paid out of this account. They're set up as direct debits, so you don't need to worry about them. Okay, they all just happen automatically. So our second account is called our triple FI account. Now this is our food, fuel, fun and incidentals account. So this account, we have a certain amount of money that we allocate for the week into this account from our predictable bills. This is a zero-based account. If you decide that you need $500 for the week for your food, for your fuel, for your fun and incidentals, $500 goes into that account. If you spend it all by Monday, if you get paid on Friday and it's all gone by Monday, then I'm sorry, there's no more until Friday, okay? But what we find with our clients is, because it's very hard to determine how much you spend on those things until you start allocating money to another account, and then you might find at the end of that week you might have $20 or $30 or $50 spare. So that then is it's still play money. You can then do what you like with that. You can take the kids out for ice cream, go out for dinner, whatever. So we like to attach a debit card for this account, so you're just using your money, you're not using the bank's money. Okay, our third account is what we call our life happens account, and again, this is the account that's going to deal with those emergency life happens events that we talked about earlier, and that's going to create some financial resilience for you. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about that shortly. Okay. After that, we can have a goal saver account. So goal saver might be for holidays or for private education for the kids or an upcoming wedding, you know, or whatever. So good to have that in place as well. But essentially at the beginning, we just like to say to our clients, just have those essential 3 accounts first, okay? Goal saver account, you can then have multiple sub accounts that come under that for other things that you might want to separate, you know, your money into different buckets or whatever. So as I said, setting up these accounts is going to create some financial resilience for you. Kelly, now I know you've got a couple of things that you want to say on this one.
Yeah, so obviously this is a basic template that works for nearly all our clients, but we tweak it for everybody because your situation is unique to you in some ways, but not always. So this is the essential framework. Predictable bills account, nobody touches. Like, that's the fixed amount, sacred, isn't it, Carolyn? Like, once you work out how much is in there, there is no dipping into that account. It's putting a fence around your money. I'm going to just tell you very quickly an example of how a client would use this account. So I have a client who is a couple with 2 small children. They use their predictable bills account for their wages to go in, exactly like Carolyn said. They each have a triple FI account. So instead of one debit card, they have 2. That gives them some independence from each other and some of their own money to spend. They also separate their food out onto a separate card again. So that's something unique to them. That's not for everybody, but we worked out for them that would work. They, of course, have a life happens account because everybody should, and they haven't got to goal saving yet. So essentially this is the basics, and we tweak it to work for you the best way it can based on your personal situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. So with just on that life happens account, so it's really important, and a lot of our clients will say, look, we don't have any money to put aside for life happens events, you know, and we always say, you know, it's not about the amount, it's about the habit. And so if all you start with is $5 a week, it's really important that you start that account. Kelly, you've got a story of a client that started that account, and that was a pretty successful story, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was only really small amount. So when they started their plan, they didn't have a lot of money to put into that account. But if they had $5, they'd put it in. I still remember they sold a couch from under their house for $25. That went in. So really small amounts over time. But just before Easter this year, their oven died. Unexpectedly, nobody needs that, particularly with a family with a couple of young kids. They were able to use the money that they'd put aside in that account. But even better, because she was so particular about keeping money in that account, she found it on sale at Aldi for less than what she had in an emergency savings account, and they got to keep some savings. So it's just been so mindful, creating the habit, using that account. They didn't use their credit card. They haven't for a year. And it's just such a strong, empowered way to deal with your money.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so step number 3 is create a clean slate. Okay, and this is simply the process of taking the time to write everything down and working out where you currently are. What do you owe? What do you own? What's your net worth? Okay, this is also where you might need to come clean with your partner about your current financial situation and actually have that conversation around money. And look, it's so important that you're both on the same page when it comes to your money journey. So it's great to be able to sit down and formulate a plan together that you can both be happy with and work toward your goals and dreams. Now, that can be really hard, and that's where sometimes it's really good to have that third person in the room. And I know I've often felt with my clients that sometimes I'm the mediator or the negotiator or the marriage guidance counsellor sometimes. Because it can get a bit tricky, and we get that, because couples in relationships will more often than not have two very different mindsets around money. And so it's part of our role as a spending planner to get, these couples onto the same page with their money, okay? So step 4 is negotiate. And when we're talking about negotiate, we can be talking about several things, okay? One of the things we will say here is we don't give financial advice at all, and we talk more about the negotiating process in our next webinar, which is all about debt reduction and negotiation. And we also talk about, why people get into debt and how they can actually get out of debt. So for the moment, we won't go too much into negotiate, but just know that you do have the right to negotiate with creditors and with banks and with electricity providers, and come on board to our next webinar and we'll give you a lot more information about that. Moving on to step 5, which is consolidate. And consolidate is simply perhaps thinking about using the equity in your mortgage if you have one. Not necessarily, again, maybe not the best idea, but it's certainly worth considering depending on your situation. And again, we would urge you to seek financial advice if that's what you do. We work with a team of mortgage brokers, financial planners, debt consolidation agencies, so that we can help you out in that area as well. Okay. Step 6 is calculate and contemplate. And as you start to reduce your debt and negotiate for better deals, at this point, you can start to calculate how much you can now put into your emergency savings fund. And as Kelly said, it can be as little as $5 a week, or sell that couch or whatever, and put that money in. Contemplate at this point also having a spending plan, and the value of having a spending plan to ensure that you never go into debt again, okay? Remember, you need to have a plan for your money, otherwise it's just going to fly out the window. Now, step 7 is separate. And this is all about separating your money into those 3 bank accounts that we talked about earlier. And if you're in business, you also need to separate your business expenses from your personal, okay? You should have a separate plan for both business and personal. And really importantly, separate yourself from your past mindsets and past behaviours, okay? Your past does not define you. And most importantly, separate your self-worth from your net worth, okay? Because your self-worth is far more important. Okay, step 8 is the one that we love the most: congratulate and celebrate, okay? And we simply want our clients to celebrate the little things, celebrate the fact that you've worked through these steps. You're now on the road to success with your personal spending and achieving your goals and dreams. Celebrate the milestones, celebrate the new mindset, the new bank account, the new savings plan, the renewed relationship. To finish the story of my client who procrastinated, I took them through this 8-step process and can happily tell you that within 2 years, they had eliminated $80,000 in debt, and they'd purchased their new home, and their relationship, their stress and anxiety issues are a thing of the past, and their kids are over the moon because they now have a pool. Okay, so they're really excited little beings. So the Spending Planner system has worked for over 30,000 people, and it's been running for the last 20 years, so we're not a fly-by-night. We've been here for a long time. We've got thousands of testimonies from people whose lives have simply been changed by putting a system in place for their money. But remember, as we said earlier, spending planning is not about a piece of software. For us, it's about empowering people and supporting them as they learn how to take control of their money and just create a future for themselves. We believe that in starting your journey to having success with your money, it's important to take a look at the big picture, what it is you really want for yourself and your family. So, and to help you along that road, we've got a thank you gift that's going to be on its way to your inbox shortly after this webinar finishes. Okay, so Kelly, take us through the little gift that we've got for our listeners.
I love this. I love this resource. It's so useful. So that you've got to find a way to encourage yourself to be different, and to do that, you need to work out what it is you're really trying to get to, because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, to be frustrated, to feel like you're never going to get out. So this worksheet helps you just look at some interesting things about your money, and hopefully helps you get a little bit curious. Your real hourly rate revealed, like working out how much you actually earn per hour once you take out traveling to work, clothes, those coffees in the morning, and all the extra bits and pieces. It's a calculator. You pop a few figures in and you might get a bit of a surprise. Your opportunity cost calculator, this by far is my favourite, Caroline, the one where you go, you know, if you buy a car rather than put your money in super, what's that really costing you over the next 40 years? Or if you take that holiday, what's that really going to cost you in lost interest? And it doesn't mean not to do these things. It just means to get curious about them and make a choice before you do. So you're making a choice. And compounding interest, I love this one. So Caroline, would you rather have $1 million right now or receive 1 cent doubled every day for 30 days?
Well, you know what? I think I'll take the 1 cent doubled every day for 30 days. But I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna tell you how much better off you would be. But if you go to your blueprint, you'll find out just how much better off you would be by taking the 1 cent. Okay. So, you know what, we've covered a lot tonight, but we can't cover everything in the time that we've got available. We'd love to personally help you. So tonight we've just got one simple question for you, okay? And this question is simply this, okay? Would you like us to help you, okay? You can continue to spend years trying to figure it all out yourself. You can continue to live pay to pay, living with stress and anxiety, having sleepless nights and arguments over money, or you can get some support. Okay, so let's have a quick look at our programs and prices. Okay, so our first program is Succeed with Money, and this program includes, as you can see, personalised spending plan, 4 1-hour training sessions in the first month, 5 1-hour monthly training sessions after that, and we do provide extra sessions and monitoring as they're required. We also provide a debt buster session and a written plan for eliminating large amounts of debt. And we, as I said, if you do have a lot of debt, we do work with other financial professionals in that way as well. We have a comprehensive e-guide that you will have access to, full support and accountability and monitoring during the 6 months of the program. Okay, so just so you know, the Spending Planner software program is cloud-based and it's an ongoing cost of $10 a month, no matter what program you use. Okay, so my second question for you tonight is simply this. Is $25 a week too much to pay for your own personal money coach, full support and training, and a spending plan designed for your individual needs? And look, honestly, personally, I think that's a bit of a no-brainer question, but I'll leave that one up to you to consider, okay? Now, this brings our webinar to a close, but if you'd like to access our program or to look at other program options that we do have, what I'd love for you to do is just book in a 15-minute money success breakthrough call with me. It's simply 15 minutes that could change your world, and there's absolutely no obligation. It's an opportunity for you to just have a chat with me about your own personal situation. We can see if we've got a program to suit you. You can book a call by simply going to moneysuccess.com.au. That takes you to my availability calendar, and you can just choose a time that suits you. Just before Kelly and I go, we just want to say that because we believe so strongly in what we do as spending planners, and we know we've seen amazing results with our clients, we're also prepared to offer you a guarantee. And the guarantee is simply this: If you sign up for a program with us and you haven't seen the benefit of having a spending plan after 60 days, and that's 60 days of you working the plan and working with us to do everything that's required, then we will simply refund your money. Okay. Kelly and I thank you so much for being a part of our webinar tonight. We hope you've taken away some great information to start your own journey to success with your money, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.